What was this guy thinking? Check, 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Point that little sucker right at me. Oh my gosh. This is great. Welcome, all you guys. So glad to see you here. Let's see. We got to get this fixed. This is something to do with honey. Well, honeybees. There it is. Honeybees. Refresh. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Well, if I'm in competition with Tess, then I'm sunk. So there we go. Tess in scrubs. Oh my gosh. You know, it's funny that you would ask that, Dave, because I came in to set up today's show and I thought, well, I'll just set it up, fire up vMix. I thought, I better just check. And sure enough, there was a new beta release. And the thing is, you can't just install, you can't install just the new beta release. You've got to install the plugin also, because they may have changed something. And this is just the Zoom plugin. So, and also the vMix forum has changed since yesterday. And the beta discussion has become its own forum. So instead of just a list of posts on one thread, it's multiple threads with fewer posts per thread, obviously. And an admonition by Martin to do feature requests in the feature requests section. So there we go. We have reached the end of the internet. Yes. And we are making all sorts of troubles today. Yep. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So there we go. And everybody's catching up on their socializing. Have I tried the new PFL options? Well, I'm familiar with the NFL. And a PFL, is that like a personal florist? I don't know, Dave. I don't know what a PFL is. Oh my gosh. There's something else I've got to learn. Jim is in the house. Welcome, sir. We're going to have Jim on the show here in the future to talk about what he's doing. Jim has got it's Hamilton County Television, somewhere up the country. And he has got a great, I guess it's Friday evening, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, Friday evening sports show where he collects all of the live streams from around the area and takes snippets of them and then has people report on the different games. A la ESPN. I think that's just awesome. And I can't wait to have Jim on to talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of fun. Yes, it is. Okay. All right. Jim, let me introduce you to the rest of this crowd. And anybody else that might be joining us for the first time. Yeah, it's a pretty eclectic group, shall we say? Yeah, eclectic. That's a good word for it. So yeah, let's bring that one up to date. No, it's not. Huh. Hold on a second here, guys. Are we doing the thing? Checking 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're doing the thing. That's good. That's good. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do, can we get over to that monitor? We'll do this. There we go. We'll do this. And we'll do this. There we go. Okay. We've got kind of a weird setup today, and I'm just trying to balance lots of different things. So yeah. So let's see. What is Jim saying? This Friday we'll be working with the Indiana High School Athletic Association football section, streaming 4 games, live scores, watching live, plus and 30 plus games. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. How cool is that? I'm working on it, Gunnar. Sometimes it's harder than you can imagine. All right, let's see. We're past the show time. We need to get this show on the road. All right, you ready? We're gonna hit the purple button on the X keys, XK80. Yeah, we are. Ready, set, go. Ta-da! How much fun is this? I mean, really, golly gee. If you're just joining us for the first time and you're wondering what in the world is going on, yeah, it's kind of like old home week. You know, all the friends kind of get together and hang out for a while, and y'all get to be quiet and I get to talk. No, that's not really exactly the way it works, but yeah, y'all chat amongst yourselves all the time. Today we've got an interesting topic. It's vMix 27 beta. Did you know vMix has put out a beta? It's the darndest thing. And so, hold on a second. No, I can't turn that off, can I? Okay, that's all right. I've got a monitor up in front of me that I'm going to use in a minute that's got this YouTube stream on it, but of course it's delayed by, 14 seconds or whatever it is when you're streaming 4K. And I wanted to capture the stats for nerds off of that so that you could see what the streams look like. And of course it's way behind, and this strange old looking guy in front of me is waving his hands around and doing other things, not in sync with me. So it's a little, throws me off just a little bit. Yep. So here's the deal. Today, with vMix 27 beta, and they released a new beta in the last 45 seconds or so. I don't know. It's was very short period of time ago. And that beta, that update to the beta, I don't know what it fixed. Anyway, it didn't fix anything that we're looking at today, I don't think, because we're going to be talking about the new vMix's new use of the AV1 codec. Now, the AV1 codec is a super duper codec on steroids that takes 8K video and pops it down to the size of a 480p video. Not really, but yeah, it munches and crunches and condenses and compresses and makes smaller the video that you are working on, so that when it's streamed, it's a smaller file, essentially. So for those of you that are bandwidth challenged or are kind of at the edge of your bandwidth but want to do more, AV1 is probably going to be for you. Thinking about churches that are kind of restricted in their ability to get high-speed internet, either by budget or by the fact that it's not available. By folks that really want to do more than what they're doing. They may be producers, you may be working on a hotspot or something like that. And this is one of the ways that you're going to be able to do this. I know when we first started out back in 2008, or was it 2006? It was a long time ago. We had a DSL line added to the local football stadium, American football, and I think it maxed out at a half a meg up, 500K up. So we learned to stream using 300K, because that's all we could do reliably. And had we had AV1 back then, we could have done better video within those limitations. And I think, we were probably streaming 480 or something like that. And we could have gone up to 540 or something. I don't know. But I thought today, let's do a workshop format. And if it'll work, we can, and I'll be just starting and stopping a stream and changing the parameters so that we can see what we can do. Currently, we're streaming AV1. I think I've got a graphic here somewhere. Come on, graphics, don't fail me now. I haven't put this one on the screen to test it, so it may not fit. Boom, there it goes. It fits perfectly. All right, so this is my setup. I've got the i9 10900KF and 32 gigs of RAM, 3 SSDs, a RTX 4070 Ti. Now the 4070 Ti is new because my previous 3070, I had a 3080 Ti. What did I do? I think I gave that to one of my children. Anyway, so I picked up a 4070 to replace it with. Neither of the 3000 series graphics cards that I had had the ability to encode, compress, or do whatever the heck it does to AV1. So I had to upgrade, and I just couldn't. I decided not to put the money into a 4080 or a 4080 Ti or a 4090 Ti or a 4090 because I wanted to give my grandchildren presents for Christmas. So I got the 4070 Ti. I thought it was a pretty good deal. And that's what we're using today. And so it's got the AV1 secret sauce on it. So I've also got AT&T internet here, 100 megs down and 20 megs up, and it's pretty consistent. I mean, when I do a speed test, it's capped at 100, and on the upload, it's capped at 20. It's not gonna fluctuate down to 18 or fluctuate up to 23. It is a consistent 20. Which is good. I can depend on it. It also means that I can cheat on the 50% rule. So in the past, I know for a while I was streaming, not that you needed to see this face in 4K 60, but I was streaming 4K 60 just to get some experience with it, to know the limitations on it, what we could do and what we couldn't do. And then I backed it back to 4K 30 just kind of recently, because you still need to see this face, but you just don't need the higher frame rate. So, but we'll play with some of that today. Now, the overall vMix setup will be in 4K 30, and that's what YouTube is expecting, but we're going to adjust our stream to be less than that. So right now we're doing 4K 30, 10 megabits per second. And let me throw you up our testing page here. Let's see if we can find that testing page. Let's go here, and let's go there. There we go. And let's just take that. And the beautiful manatees behind me. I was doing some testing last week on a sample video I downloaded from Pond 5. I wanted to find something with a lot of movement and some color changes that would give some stress to the video card and other things. And I looked later, and the version I downloaded, it was just a demo. I think it was 540 resolution. This is 4K resolution. So if you happen to watch any of the test videos, you probably didn't see all this junk flying around there that you that you would do now. Do I have a shadow over here by my elbow? I do. Sorry about that. Anyway, so the video behind me is 4K. We're streaming at 10 megabits per second right now using the AV1 codec, 2997 frame rate. And yeah, so the question is, how low can we go? 10, my normal video here at 4K when I live stream with H.264. By the way, at some point we should try H.265. But normally when I live stream the show, I'm live streaming it at 14 of my 20 megs upload. Don't those guys look good? I think they're a couple. I think they're a couple. And she's checking him right now to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Anyway, okay. So let's go here. And I think I want to take it down from 10. Let's take it to 8. Let's take it to 8. Oh, one other thing I want to show you while we're there. And this has got a little bit of a weird background to it. Excuse me a sec. Goodness gracious, sorry about that. This is what's called Stats for Nerds. And this is the video that we're streaming now. If you, I think if you right click on your screen, if you're watching on a computer, you can do Stats for Nerds. If you're watching on your phone, I think there's another button, a settings button maybe, that you can pull up Stats for Nerds. And what I want to draw your attention to is, the second line, which tells us that this view is at 1080, and we've dropped 2 frames out of 19,000. But the resolution that we're watching is 4K at 30 frames a second. And we can look at the connection speed, which is 68 Mbps 67. So it's actually less than the 10 that we said we're saying. So it looks like we can get down to 8 pretty easily. And so we'll pop it back and forth to this one as we have time. And I'll also keep up to date with the stats over there so that we can tell what, the only thing we're going to change is the resolution and the bit rate. Also, you can keep an eye down here on the stats in vMix, and it looks like the total is just dropping off the edge. So let me see if I can fix that real quickly. 1 second. Sorry about this. This is a layers. This is a desktop capture. And we need to make it just a tad smaller. Is that right? Yeah, there we go. And then we can drop it down a little bit and move it to the left a little bit. Other left, Tom. There you go. All right, now we get to see. So what we want to keep our eye on is the render time. Right now, the render time is double digits. I would like that it was not double digits. Maybe I've been a little too happy with the idea. Although I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. I've got a YouTube video playing here, which is where I'm capturing the stats for nerds that I showed you just a second ago. Well, we'll try it and we'll see. We'll try it and we'll see. I'm also recording in 4K 30. And that can affect my render time apparently. In fact, let's just turn the recording off real quick and see how that affects it. Recording is off. Yeah, you can see it drops way down. So we'll leave the recording off for now, and we'll just hope that YouTube makes a decent recording on this one. So we've got pretty good render time here. And so here's the protocol. I am going to stop the stream. I'm going to change the parameters, and then I'm going to restart the stream. So I'm going to change the parameters from 10 megabits per second to, let's just go to 8, and let's start that. So I'm going to count down, and then I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to restart it. YouTube will hold the stream and will allow you to reconnect in 10, 15 seconds, something like that. If I screw up, I'll be back as quickly as I can. The key, of course, for me is not to change the stream key, because that determines what the destination is, which is you. So here we go. We're going to stop. And let's see how you guys are there yet. Somebody give me a shout and let me know that you're back so that I don't have to worry again, because I'm such a worrier. Check, 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 check. Let's see, do we have, Are you there? There we go. Looks like we've lost the chat in YouTube, which is okay. We'll go back and get it. And Jan says he's there. Okay, good. All right, very good. Very good. So we've got, and I guess I should change my graphic here. Sorry about that. I'm not a very good graphic guy. We're going to change that to 8 because that's what we're really doing. Now that graphic over there is correct. We're doing 4K 30 at 8 megabits per second. Notice the render time. Render time is decent-ish, about 5 milliseconds. It's not bad. Let's see. Let me refresh the video that I've got here. And kind of having to work around the lights a little bit here. Here we go. Refresh. And we'll go there. And then let's pull up stats for nerds. And here are our stats for nerds. The viewpoint frames are still the same. We haven't dropped any yet. Probably won't, but you never know. We dropped a couple before. Resolution, current and optimal resolution is still there. Codecs network speed is 84. Now in YouTube, it gives me a warning. It says the stream's current bit rate of 4,451 kbps is lower than the recommended bit rate. We recommend you use a stream bit rate of 23,500. So I think these messages are based on H.264 that we're getting, and I'll see if I can do a capture on that. Jan wants me to take it down to 4, but I'm not quite that bold. Let's take it down to 6 first. We're going to take it down to 6. And again, this is 4K 30. The video in the back is 4K. So I want you to watch, and compare, the hairs on the snout, not mine, theirs. Well, you could compare mine too. But the idea is, is the clarity still there? Are we getting, in our little testing thing right here, is that beginning to jump? That's really the way I was looking at it the other day, because that tells me we're dropping frames. As of right now, in stats for nerds, we're not dropping any frames. Haven't dropped any frames. And our render time is still doing well. So this is 8. So this is 4K 30 at 8 megabits per second. And we're gonna change that again in. Okay. Are we back? Hello, Ken, watching from California. Good to see you. Glad to have you. So let me refresh my my video here. We'll do that, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do this. Okay, we're back. We're back. So now we are at 4K 30, 6 megabits per second. Render time, still pretty decent. Let's look closely at the testing banner. Is it? Yeah, I saw a couple little, what do you call those things? Little jitters in it. Let's take a look at the stats for nerds, and we can see we've dropped 1 frame out of 13,000. Same frame rate, same resolution. Connection speed now is 115,000 kbps. And I promise you that's not what it is. 113,798 kbps. And that's changing, obviously, dynamically. And let's go back over to our live stream. and see that our render time is still pretty low. We're not recording right now. If I do the recording, let's pop the recording on for a second. We can watch the render time pop up into the double digits, you know, up to 20 or more. So let's turn that back off again. And we can watch that go down. All right. So what I'm saying about pauses is in the banner right here. As this banner comes down, I'm looking at the word testing, and occasionally I see it just jump just a little bit. Let's look at our frames again and see. Yeah, we dropped 1 out of 3,800. So from a YouTube standpoint, we haven't dropped a lot of frames. Well, we dropped 1. From a vMix standpoint, let me go to the stats here and see. Reset that. Is anything dropping frames? No. I should make this available for you guys to see, but there's nothing in it. So we won't worry about that. The stats for vMix are that little bar graph in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Okay. So let's do what Jan wants to do, which is to go down to 4 megabits per second, 4K 30 at. Okay. Am I back? Question mark. So this is 4K 30 at 4 megabits per second using the AV1 on the NVIDIA 4070 Ti. And we want to look at the render time. Looks good. Want to look at the banner. Want to look at the detail on this guy's snout right here. The snout's going to get up good and close here, and we can see the dangling. We can see his lunch. His lunch is still on this. And look at the debris in the water. You know, wanted to look at the clarity of this. And those two are absolutely in love, though, aren't they? Holy cow. All right, so should we go any further? Should we go any lower? What's to be benefited by going lower? Well, what's to be benefited by going lower? Let's say somebody's got a 6 megabit connection, 6 megabits upload. And the rule of 50 is, the rule of 50% is you only use 50% of that, which would be 3. We're doing 4 right now. Could we do 3? And would 3 work? You know, again, let's do a recording here real quick just to see how recording is affected at 4 megabits per second. So the recording is on. We see the render time goes up into the 20s, about what it did before. Okay, there's a 30. So it's having a predictable effect. So we'll, and my recording stats, let me give you my recording stats here real quick so we can compare. I am recording to my F drive, which is an SSD. I'll have to get the specs on the SSD. I'm recording 4K 30. The bit rate is 20 megabits per second. H.264 main is my profile using the hardware encoder. Okay. All right. So let's go to 3. We're going to go to 3. At some point, YouTube's going to kick us off. But if that happens, just go to my YouTube channel, Eastern Shore Broadcasting, and I'll have something there. All right. So our numbers look good. These numbers down here look really good. So, and our banner looks good. That's at 4 megs. Okay. We're going to stop again in 3. Okay. I am back. Am I back? Am I back? Question mark. Welcome, Vlad. So we are at 3 megabits per second, 4K 30 at 3 megabits per second, testing the AV1 codec on the RTX 4071 and vMix 27 beta version .45. And I'm looking right down here at the render time, still mostly single digits. I'm looking here at this banner and I see a little bit of jitter in it. And I'm looking at, this guy's lunch still on his whiskers, the whiskers on his back. I'm looking for clarity. I'm looking for smooth motion. I don't see any jerkiness in the video. Well, maybe a little bit. Let's check on stats for nerds. But before we do, let me go ahead and, sorry, I've got to bend my neck in order to see this guy here. Where is it? Nope, that's too far. There we go. I want to refresh this YouTube video. I've got our show, today's show, on a screen here, and then I'm capturing the stats for nerds off of that. So I'm getting the same stats for nerds that you are. Let's take a look at those. Okay, now we got 2 drop frames. Looking at the second line there where it says viewport frames. Viewport, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think it is not what you and I are seeing. And so we dropped 2 frames out of 1,000. The current and optimal resolution are still the same. Volume doesn't matter about volume. The connection speed, it says, is 97 megabits per second, which I assure you it's not. It's 3. So maybe that's something to do with AV1 on the YouTube side that they just haven't gotten the stats right yet. Or maybe that's no, that wouldn't be the equivalent. Live latency, you can see, is the third line from the bottom, fourth line from the bottom is 30 seconds. Buffer health looks good. Network activity, whatever that means. Okay, so let's go back here. And hello, Ray. Welcome from East Central Indiana. Are you up there near Jim? All right, let's see. So Rick and Jan saw a stutter at first, but not now. And again, I think it's related to the render time. So this is 3 megabits per second for 4K. Holy cow. Now it is only 4K 30. So we've got that. So let's go slower. Let's go slow. We're going to go to 2. Jump down to 2. That's a big jump. Oh, what the heck. Let's go to 1.5. Let's go to 1.5. Okay. I'm back. Are you? So this is 4K 30 at 1.5 megabits per second. And we're watching the render time, which is in the single digits. We're looking at our banner, right? And all of this is objective. Objective, subjective. This is just your opinion and my opinion. What do we see? I don't see as much sharpness in these guys as I did before. I think the frame rate, the motion is still as smooth as it was before. I was thinking about trying to do 60 frames a second, but I didn't want to mess with my overall vMix desktop setup, because sometimes if I do recording, I struggle a little bit at 60 frames a second. I'm trying to work out what that is and see how I can fix it, whether I need a faster SSD or I need to put the SSD in a different place on the motherboard or something like that. But now we are at 4K 1.5 megabits per second. It's definitely watchable. I don't know if I had a choice between HD and 4K at this point. I might take 1080p 60 over 4K 30. Um, and again, I should have figured out how to do 60 frames a second. So Jan's starting to see some artifacts in the banner. Yeah. I'm looking at the banner here and turning my head in order to read it. Actually, it looks pretty smooth, but the text is not as crisp. Okay. Let's change directions. Don't see it on the phone, but not good on the TV. Okay. Let's change directions. Let's go to streaming 1080p, 1080p 30, and we'll start at, what do you think? Maybe 5, 1080p 30. Actually, I'm doing at my church, I'm doing 1080p 60 at 3. Well, let's start with 5. Let's start with 5. All right, so we're going to change the resolution over there from 2160p, that is 4K, 29.97, that's the frame rate. And we're going to change it to 5 megabits per second and give it a shot. Jan wants me to do 1, but we'll get. Yes, Ed, it is a race to the bottom. Okay, so now we are at 1080p 30. We'll just use a shortcut on 30 instead of 2997 at 5 megabits per second. Render time is good. Banner, actually the banner is a little jittery on my end. How does it look on your end? The clarity and movement, I'm comparing this to what we just saw with the 4K 30 at, what was it? We did 1.5. This bit rate is, more than 3 times, but the resolution is 1/4. So it ought to be darn good. Okay, so there we go. Yeah, and you guys have the ability to pull back and go back in time on the video and take a look and see how it looked, a few minutes ago and compare backwards and forwards. I will flip up. Let's flip up. Oh, let me refresh the screen on Stats for Nerds and make sure that we're getting the latest, greatest. I mean, I'm assuming that I need to refresh it every time. Maybe I don't, but I'll just use that. Okay, so here is Stats for Nerds. And it says that, it's it's still going to show the third line there. It's still going to show 4K, but we're not streaming 4K. We're streaming 1080p. No drop frames. Looking down towards the bottom, the live latency is 37 seconds. The buffer health is 20-ish seconds. The predicted connection speed is 86,000 K. Holy cow, not really. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here and looking at, render time is single digits. Let's do a recording at this point and see how the recording affects this. So we've got a recording going. We jumped up into the low 20s, now mid 20s. Doesn't appear to have affected a whole lot. Let's watch the stream for just a second and see how our two friends are doing here. She is really interested in his back. You notice his back has got a lot less stuff on it than hers does. Okay, we'll turn the recording off. That's enough of that. And we can watch the render time drop back down there. GPU memory is 100. Don't worry about that. I'm not worried about it because I'm using that virtual bar thing. The mixer bar. vMix CPU at 9%, total CPU at 16, 14%. No big deal. We're rocking along. Let's change this. Yeah, let's just go for broke. We're going to go down to 1. All right, we're stopping the stream in 3, 2. Okay, I'm back. Are you? I am back. And let's see what our video looks like here. Does it look decent? Is it going to be something we're proud of? Or are we going to kind of scrape by on it? Render time looks good. 5, 6, 7, 5, 7. Total CPU, 20%-ish. The testing banner looks pretty stable. The resolution of these guys doesn't look quite as good. I'm getting some fogginess in his shoulder. I'm looking at the screen here, which is delayed about 30 seconds, so it's seeing what you guys are seeing. It's not as clear. His shoulder's not as clear. Maybe that's the video. Maybe the video is just not as clear at that point. Let's check frames. Here's stats for nerds. And we're seeing we've got 3 dropped frames. That really is the only stat here that appears to mean anything to me. Yep. Okay, so we can agree that 1080p 30 at 1 megabit per second is probably too slow. Let's find the optimal. Let's go up to 1.5 and see if that's decent. Let's okay. So we're at 1080p 30 at 1.5 megs. And let me refresh my YouTube screen because I'm seeing what you guys are seeing, and I want to refresh and make sure my stats for nerds are up to date. Render time looks good. The banner looks clean, no jerkiness in the banner. Well, maybe a little bit. Looking at the video, it's a little jerky. The clarity is better. It's a little blurry when there's some motion. That might be in the video. Again, we'll have to check. Still some artifacts. Mike says you're confusing YouTube because you're still offering 2160. That's what YouTube is set for, but obviously it's not going to be able to improve the quality of my video. If anything, it's just going to pass it through. So here's stats for nerds here. We can see, no dropped frames so far. It does reflect on the connection speed that we're going a little faster than we were before. So, and the live latency and the buffer health are still about the same. Let's see, would I stream at this? I mean, you guys tell me, would you stream 1080p 30 like this, or would you like to do better? While you're thinking about that, I'll let you look at it just a little bit longer. Mike says some banner jitter, and I saw some of that too just a second ago. Let's bounce up to 2.5. We'll make a big jump. We'll go to 2.5, which is half of what we started with at 5. So we're going to cut the stream in 3. Okay, we're back at 2.5. Let me update the graphic here. And let me update my YouTube page here. Yeah, that's updated. There we go. Let's full screen it and stats for nerds it. Yeah, we'll let those stats go for a little while. So we've got 2.5. I think that's clear. Looking at the detail on her back, I think the lady is on the left and the guy is on the right. I mean, you can tell by how scruffy the one on the right is. That's got to be the guy, right? But that lady is all over him. She thinks he's a hunk. Oh my gosh. All right, so we're looking at the banner, looking good. The render time looks good. Total CPU looks good. We'll go to, what do you call that thing? Stats for nerds. Yeah, there we go. Oh, we got some frame drops there. That may have just been right over at the very beginning. But the buffer health and live latency are still good. YouTube obviously is not having any trouble with this, even though it's supposed to be, 4K resolution. Obviously, it can't take what we're sending and make it 4K. It can only encode it as it sees it. So yeah, I would go with this. And actually, I think this is what I do at the church for 1080p 30. So yeah, not as much effect as the lower at the lower resolution of 1080p than at the 4K. And maybe we can repeat this again with 60 frames a second and see if we have a little better there. All right, so the banner, I could see it smoother. I could see it smoother. Let's try 2.5 at 1080p with HEVC, not AV1. So I'm going to stop the stream and flip over to that codec. Okay, so YouTube did not like me switching from, sorry, let me update my graphic here. YouTube did not like me switching from AV1 to HEVC. So can't do that live. Something to remember if you're in the middle of a show and you started with the wrong codec, you probably aren't able to switch live. I had to switch back to AV1 to get you guys back. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, Dave, my green screen shadow is yeah. And actually, I've redone the lights here in the studio, and I haven't tested it since that happened. And my normal backdrop is much more forgiving. But since I got new eyes, I don't get glare and reflection off my glasses. So I've brought my lights down, and I'm still experimenting with that. So yes, Bill, welcome. That is a useful lesson. And not that you would ever really need to or want to, unless you were just an idiot. But now we know what happens when you do that. So I pissed off the YouTube gods, and that's gods with a little g, by the way, Jan. So what do we conclude? What do we conclude? At the very beginning, we were doing 4K 30 at 10 megabits per second. I thought it looked pristine. We dropped to 8. I didn't see any difference. We dropped to 6, and there was a little bit of difference. I think we all went all the way down to 4 maybe. Did we go to 2? I don't remember. I'll have to go back and review the video. But 6 was about the lowest we could go, and that's AV1 4K at 30 frames a second. So if I had a 10 megabit upload speed, I could probably fudge a little bit from the 50% rule and stream at 6 megabits per second and do 4K 30. Maybe next week we can spend just a few minutes and do 4K 60 and see how that does. Or maybe I'll set that up as a test to do tomorrow and just post it to the YouTube channel, 4K 60. Yep. Dave said that's much better and clearer video. Yeah, it's 1080p 30 at 2.5 megs. Mike says YouTube suggests a minimum 1080p 30 at 3 megabits for AV1 and HEVC at 8. We didn't try it. We didn't try HEVC, obviously, because it bombed out. But if YouTube wants 8 megabits per second at 8 for HEVC for 1080p 30, forget it. That's no benefit. Holy cow. And Bill says it depends on whether you also have remote guests coming in over the same line. That's right. That's right. Fortunately, Bill, one of the things with vMix Call, at least, is that you can determine of the amount of bandwidth you want to use, you want to set aside for return video to guests. And I always cut it down really low, like 360 or whatever the lowest setting is. And I explained to the guests why they're getting a return feed that's not real high video, because we want them to look as good as they can. So there you go. Yep. All right. And Mike says that YouTube suggests 4K at 30 for 8 megabits per second minimum. I guess you're talking about for AV1. Yeah, and Jan makes up a great point. In fact, why don't we let's close this out and we'll go to the post show and we can do the official kind of post show kind of stuff. So stick around for a second. I'm going to hit the purple button on my X Keys XK80. Be right back. Okay. All right, so let me take a second and just kill this YouTube video there. There we go. We'll get that out of the way. So yeah, there's a story. Interesting, experiments. What are we doing right now? We are doing this is what we're currently doing. We're 1080p 30 at 2.5 megabits per second. What do you think? That doesn't look bad. I mean, very few of the pixels are changing. So there. Oh yeah, that's what it's called, rebar. Yeah. So I think we answered the question, is AV1 effective? Here's my answer. At higher resolutions, it makes a significant impact. What will it do at 8K? That's probably designed for 8K, so that we we're kind of lining things up for 8K when it comes. Um, okay. Mike says, take a look at the link I provided. Mike, I think YouTube strips out links. Let me look and see if it's something that we've got. Yeah, you can't post a link. That's right. Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, I think we all want to do our homework a little bit more on AV1 and HEVC, but the word on the street so far is that AV1. Here's the bottom line. I'm probably going to be using AV1 from here on out, just because I want to test it, do a long-term test on it, find out. I mean, we've kind of seen the sweet spot, but what kinds of things give it trouble? How does it do with lots of motion? How does it do with lots of color changes? How does it do with low light situations? We want to know those kinds of things so that now that we have more tools in our toolbox. Before we just had H.264, and maybe you had H.265, but now we've got AV1, which the industry is moving towards. So we may as well find out as much about it as we can. And we can also expect that, well, I expect, you may be wiser than me and not expect this, but I expect that AV1 will change and grow and mature a little bit too. Yeah, here's a great question from Bill. Why wouldn't you use AV1? What's to lose? Nothing to lose. But the caveat is AV1 requires new hardware. That's the kicker. You've got to have a graphics card that can deal with AV1. That's why I upgraded to the 4070 Ti right there, because it had the AV1 chip or whatever it is on it. So that's what I needed. Yep. Wisdom in a group of idiots. More wisdom. Yep. Yep. And I think the net effect for this, as I think about it, is that this becomes, with the caveat that you have to buy a new graphics card. This puts 4K available for people on the lower end in terms of available bandwidth. And obviously, there's cameras and capture cards and whatever. Right now we're using NDI HX on our PTC Optics Move 4K camera, the 12X, which is a great little studio camera, by the way. It'll do 4K 60. And people that are in bandwidth limited situations will have the ability, if they want to or need to move up to 4K. Now, why would you need to move a church service up to 4K? You wouldn't need to, but you might want to. I find, as somebody that live streams churches, for example, I find that lots of people are watching on their phone, 4K, no way. But enough people are watching on their TV sets because they're bringing in YouTube on TV, that 4K might be an added benefit, because a 1080p picture with lots of detail in it on a big TV is probably going to lose some of that detail where you get it back with 4K. That's the real benefit, is the larger screen. So will I do 4K at my church? Well, that's a good question. Probably not. Probably not. Here's a good question. Is a 4070 Ti overkill? Well, let's put some context with that question. I mean, what's the context? In my case, I want to stream 4K 60 at whatever my limited is in bandwidth, 20 megs up. So rule of 50% says 10. I've been using 14 in the past. But with AV1, I could use 10 and have feel like I had plenty of overhead. Um, and yes, Bill is absolutely correct. This is a YouTube thing. This is not Facebook. It's probably not white label or third party streamers. CDNs are probably not doing this. It's going to cost them some money to be able to upgrade and update their systems to handle AV1. There may be even some licenses that they need to buy. It's not licensed. It doesn't need to be licensed at our end, which is why we were sort of waiting for it. Yeah, and what he said. I think there is an Intel ARC, ARC graphics card that has this AV1 secret sauce in it that's pretty reasonably priced. And I may pick up one and pop it into my system along with a 3000 series RTX card that doesn't have the AV1 on it, and see if those cards can coexist in the same PC and give me AV1 when I want it and give me HEVC or H.264 when I want it. We'll see. If you want to be more educated, if you want to be educated more about FFmpeg and codecs, follow Jan Ozer. Yeah, Jan's the guy for sure. I remember following him and reading his stuff. Was it 10 years ago, maybe? Yeah, in fact, he was the one that came out with the article that he thought vMix had a better encoder than Wirecast. And I thought that was the death knell for Wirecast back then. That somebody as highly respected as Jan had said that. I thought that was interesting. For sure. For sure. All right, let's see how we're doing on where we are here. We're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. Well, folks, to keep you up to date, I've talked to somebody at Zoom about coming on the show to talk about the vMix the way vMix integrates Zoom into vMix, and maybe even tell some stories about that if they can. I've invited Jim Wofford at Hamilton County TV to come in and talk about his kind of ESPN game day program that he has on Friday nights for high school football. I think it's really cool, and for those of you doing high school football, might give you some ideas. I've got a teacher friend at a high school that's doing some interesting things with some kids and with vMix, and I think just might excite you because he's high energy and he's a lot of fun, and we'll try to get him on at an appropriate time. And then, of course, we've got the old standbys. We want to get Joe DeMax on to talk about central control because that's got some really cool stuff going on in it now. We want to get Maggie at X Keys to come on and talk about X Keys and just chat with us about the industry in general. Who else? At some point, probably after vMix 27 is officially released, I'd like to get one of the vMix guys on to come talk to us about vMix 27, maybe a little bit about the process of developing it, maybe about where vMix, what they're looking at. They won't ever tell us what they're looking at for vMix 28, but you got to ask the question anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. Listen to this. This is the guy. Personally, I don't see much need to produce anything above 1080p. 2K or 4K requires a lot more. I thought 1080p was 2K. And there'll be very few who, and then he's cut off for the rest of it. Sorry about that. Not enough characters in the day. Oh, uh, um, who will even notice? That's what he's saying. Okay, there we go. Dave says my music is much louder than me. Dave, I don't think I've got any music going on. $1080p still looks like 4K in a 4K TV. How about that? I don't think I'm streaming. Let's check and see what I'm doing. AV1, 1080p, 2.5 megabits per second. And there should be no music, Dave. No music. Just no music. Is there somebody sending me a message that I need to know about right now? Yeah. Yeah, well, let's see. Okay. No music there. Yeah. I think Dave is hearing things. That's what I think. Dave has apologized for the phone. Family members have just decided to start texting because it's, 4 o'clock in the afternoon for them. Dave, that's just a song in your heart. Oh my gosh. Ah, gotcha. Thank you. That's interesting. It's been a while since I've equalized that, so we'll have to see. What is it in the opening? It is it's like full blast. Well, maybe not quite. And then in the closing, well, where is the closing? That's interesting. I don't see the closing audio. Go figure. All right. We'll have to look at that. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Ken was more specific. All right. 2K is not 1080p. And the broadcast TV is still 720, 30, or 1080i 60. So what is 2K if it's not 1080p? Just saying. Dave needs to check his tabs. Dave's tabs are just fine. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're going to close up shop here. Thank you for your comments. Most absolutely appreciated. It's so much more fun when you guys tune in. And it'll be interesting. I think vMix will post this all as one video. I don't think they will post a different video for each stop and start. I think it'll be continuous with just kind of a cut in the action. I'll go back and check that later. But yeah, we'll probably what? Not sure what these people are talking about anymore. Oh, here we go. There's the question. There's the answer to the question. 2K is 1440. Well, 1440 and 1080 have got to be indistinguishable to the naked eye. And my eyes are always naked. Yes. Glad to have you, Mike. A little late to the game, but yeah, Mike's there. All right. It was fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I will catch you next time. And yeah, we'll have more fun. Thanks for watching.